And I think we're live. What's up, everybody? What's up,
Hello.
Susan, Roy, Bud Soda, Gary, who's also in here. I want to real quick introduce the panel, as if you don't know them all already. Gary Middleton, with his mic muted, over that way. Hannibal Darby, Hannibal Is Hungry.
What's going on?
And we have this week we have Jason from Idaho, who also has been a gig worker for just about as long, maybe not quite, but as long as me. And he does all of the. He's an all around. He's done rideshare. He's done delivery. He's done Instacart, shipped. I mean, all rodeo.
Everything.
Yeah, every app that allows you to get on it, he's done it. In fact, yeah, before we move on, I'm gonna, because I sent Jason a video today of somebody doing what he had done in the first year of the pandemic, which was take his delivery on the road. So he traveled the entire country in an RV with a Prius hooked up to the back and signed people up for like delivery and tried every city and was making money this way and also working the cities while he was there teaching people and whatnot.
That was genius, man. When Steve told me about that, I'm like, genius. Didn't even think of that, but it sounded awesome.
All the rest of us were in lockdown, and this guy's like,
I'm like, heck no.
Touring the country twice.
Awesome.
Yeah, I went from Seattle to Miami, actually twice last year. Well, over the last 2 years, I guess now. But,
yeah. And I mean, but you also got to stay in spots. I don't know. A lot of us, I mean, if we can recall back to 2020, my 2020 sucked, man. Yeah. I was in lockdown hiding and Jason's out driving the country. I don't know. Sounds a lot more fun than what I did.
Right?
I lived in Florida. We didn't have a lockdown.
Yeah, right.
Well, he was down there a couple times. He was near you anyway. I know he was in Orlando once for a few weeks.
Yeah. I was actually in Florida a total of almost 3 months total.
Okay.
I just went all around it. So.
Yeah. I even know you got to Hawaii. You even used your brother's account to do gig work down there. I mean,
I did.
he really was one of the only people that told that pandemic where to shove itself.
Yeah, exactly. You know, he has a blue Prius as well. So. Yeah, I took advantage of that. I actually went over there twice.
It's weird that they didn't notice like how you got your Prius to the island.
Hey, you know,
it just shows how bad the platform is. Like, I don't know.
Absolutely.
But okay, so what's up, everybody else that's joined us? What's up? What's up, Daphne, Marissa, Rodney, Faith, Kim, Lebowski? How you guys all doing? So the first thing that I want to mention, and I think you guys all know how I feel, but is to Hannibal even made a post about it. I made a joke back, but like the virtual strike today, I actually think that it was maybe the worst of all three of them, the DoorDash, Instacart, and this. I mean, this had I called different markets. I called different drivers. I really was kind of like looking into this today before we did this. And I'm shocked. I mean, like the most I saw was in Southern LA. It looked like about 30 people were rallying.
Yeah, I tried to look, go through social media because I've seen the other strikes that had a little bit more public, knowledge, some articles, on TechCrunch, different types of articles. I didn't see anything.
That's what I was going to say here was that. So I Googled Uber, and like if I had Googled DoorDash or Instacart during those virtual strikes, they would have came up on the first page, even if there was other news to do with it. Mm-hmm. But when I Googled Uber, for the first 4 pages, there's nothing about the strike. When I Googled Uber driver, it took till the 4th page to find one, because the closest it came was saying that, see, again, Uber spun this in their positive, actually. Not only did the platform not even feel a dent, but they sent all these articles out about how Uber's helping drivers with gas mileage on the day of the strike. So those are the articles coming up. And if anything, the people are seeing this. The platform felt no damage. And here's my personal opinion. I think that does major damage to causes like this. I have said before, I don't think they work. Everybody should do what they feel. If you feel like but you can't strike if you don't have a job with these companies. You're just protesting. And is it doing anything? And I honestly believe it backfires. I honestly believe that every time this happens, these companies see that as a major weakness. And like, look, we didn't even feel a dent in any city.
Well, I mean, you picked a very busy day for rideshare to try and strike. But besides the fact that it was already going to be surging in most of these cities because of all the drinkers,
right?
Like, it hits high enough, everybody's going to go drive. You only strike until it hits the price point that you want.
And that's for those of the drivers that even know about it.
Right.
Again, I go back to that fact
thing.
that not a lot of people even know.
Well, like I sent you that text earlier. A lot of people think it's on the 19th.
Oh,
yeah,
no.
I don't know. That's because, there's ones in Europe. I don't know. You'd think that if they really were going to try, they'd go for one day. But again, I don't even think this is trying. I'm not being mean there. I'm just being honest.
Well, I've noticed that most strikes come around a major holiday, and I think it's a way to try and get drivers not to drive so that the price goes up higher for those that are going to drive.
Right.
I'll tell you not to drive just so I can go drive and make more money.
I mean, there was the old LAX trick, and that's what I kind of wondered if that would go down again, like how it used to. I thought maybe because that's where it was being organized, maybe that's where it would happen. But like, I don't know if you guys know, but at LAX, they were the ones that started that turn it off at the airport for 20 minutes, let everything just triple surge, then turn on and take them.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, they used to do like a thing, like literally like 400 cars, and they'd like use a little boat horn even. And when the boat horn went off, everybody turned off.
That's been a while ago.
Yeah, but I wondered if they'd try something like that today. I mean, like that's the only way to affect anything. And even then, all you're affecting is a surge rate. It's not going to get across to the customers correctly. They don't see this in the news. I don't see this in the news. Nobody sees this in the news. It's you can't strike if you're not an employee. And I don't know if I think we all were saying this before it even happened. It always shocks me that people really think this is going to make a huge difference. And I say more power to them, do what you feel is right, but also maybe make sure that it's in some kind of reality. Because if nothing can come of it, maybe just rethink the strategy. Because I understand that we might have different positions, but this strategy is now proven not to do anything at all.
Yeah.
And also make sure that other companies aren't given a 20% bonus to work.
I sent Gary an article. So you guys know the company Solo, right? Jason, are you familiar with Solo?
Yeah.
Okay, so they're out of Seattle now. They're in Florida too, in a couple places, but so Solo's awesome. You come on in, they take the platforms you work, and then they say, okay, work these and we'll get you up to this much an hour. And then if you don't make it, they pay the difference. So Solo today didn't only not recognize the drivers that were striking, they gave a 20% bonus to all those driving. I'm sorry.
Money talks.
I know, but I know Bryce Bennett, the CEO of Solo, and I honestly wonder, he's probably one of the people that doesn't even know they were striking, to be honest. Right? He's like,
he probably did it because it was a holiday. He probably did just because it's a holiday.
So the main person or the main content creator that spearheaded this was the Rideshare professor, right? Was there any other? Yeah. So I want to talk about that for a second. The Rideshare professor. Now, I'm not a Rideshare driver, so I don't have a long history of his I'm fully aware of his content. But I don't drive, I don't do Rideshare. Some people he seemed like a polarizing person, seemed like, in terms of how he reacts and how he talks about certain things. But it seemed like he cares. He covers a lot of the crime that's happening with the Rideshare drivers, and he is trying to get the Uber and Lyft to do more for safety, trying to get them to do more. But I'm trying to rack my head, like, what exactly because I think his demands are I've seen some of the demands from some other commenters suggesting that we should every person that takes the Uber should go through a background check. Like, is that even realistic to even ask? I understand certain things about ID, like you're picking up a person that has a nickname. I can see that maybe they shouldn't have that. Like, I'm thinking like maybe we should have our government names when, because I'm sure the rideshare driver, we see their name. Like the nicknames are kind of should be thrown away. But in terms of like solving the crime problem, I don't see how Uber and Lyft can do that, or any other gig company can do that.
Yeah, I think passengers should have to scan their ID.
Yeah,
That's
the same. I could
like
order
their driver's
Uber
license
for another person. I could order Uber for a friend of mine.
Yeah.
Are they going to be able to scan the ID? Like some of the things I understand what he stands for, but like you said, like what Steve said, the tactics, they're not working. Like this is how many strikes we've been through. They're not working. The tactic of strike is not working. Let's throw that out, try to do something else. But in terms of keeping people safe, yeah, I would love for us to be more safe. But the crime is affecting everybody, regardless if you're doing rideshare or not. You could be walking down the street and something happens. I mean, I'm in New York City, so you don't have to do rideshare to be a victim of a crime.
Right. Jason, I think I know where you stand on the strike. So I think you kind of agree with us. So I'm going to move into this next piece, and I'm just going to give my take real quick, and then Jason, I'm going to go to you first. I want to hear your take on this. So everybody on YouTube has made a gas video, right? Gas prices are up.
Yeah.
There's 55 cents from Uber. There's 55 cents from Lyft. There's this. Is this good? Is this bad? Should it be more? Should it be less? I'm going to take a really weird opinion here, you guys. And in fact, completely opposite. And I say, it's really a bad thing that there's any gas supplement being given. I hate that because it makes it look like the drivers are being taken care of. If you're really going for more money, if that is our long goal, and even those of us that don't protest or strike, we all want money to go back to where it was. To be honest, taking that 55 cents per ride is, to me, I would rather them not do that and let everybody know that the driver is struggling and get a real amount back on the table that we can live with for UberX, like take away time, take away miles, and just make it $1 a mile. Boom.
Yeah, here's exactly what is going to go on in the minds of the rider. The rider is going to think, I'm paying you $45 for this trip, right? We as rideshare drivers know, no, we're actually getting 14. But in their minds, they're getting 40. And now you're telling me you're going to charge me an extra 45 cents. So what they're going to do, well, I'm just not going to tip you like I normally would because you want an extra 45 cents. I believe that is a majority of what people will do. Riders are very, very uneducated. So they have no clue about anything that we go through, anything that we're paid. If somebody asks me about pay, I usually say we're usually paid between 30 and 40% of what you actually pay. And then they're shocked most of the time. So if you're paying $10, we're getting $3. And that's the truth of it. So to put out there, it's a complete PR stunt from Uber and Lyft, and now the delivery companies as well, to make themselves look good, make themselves act like, hey, we're giving our drivers extra, whatever. It does 45 cents for the trip, the 45-minute trip that you take. Does that matter? No, it really doesn't. Yeah, I don't think it was a good move. I think we should have just left it alone.
Right. I mean, most of the people are sitting on it needs to be more, or how do you feel about this number? I'm saying that I wish it never happened.
Yeah.
I think it's a bad move. I think it's going to hurt everybody. And also, let's not forget that the word supplemental was used. Whenever that word is used, it means it can be taken away at 1 minute's notice.
Yeah, and it will.
Yeah, it absolutely will.
Yeah. It's kind of like the difference between Instacart shopping in the pandemic and Instacart shopping now. You know, people back in the pandemic, people who are now shopping are like, what the heck? Where's all the orders? Right? Well, we're not in the pandemic anymore, so it's a completely different thing. People will, when they take the gas thing away, right? They're going to be all mad because they're not making that extra 45 cents. But gas is cheaper. So.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's more. Go ahead, Gary.
I think that they just did it because they didn't want Grubhub outshining them. That's what, because Grubhub released it first, and then everybody else after that. But
Gary? No.
I agree. I think that. Oh, did you lose me?
Yeah, you're back. You're back.
Okay. So I don't know about when you guys do rideshare, but when I do rideshare, my tips are already very rare.
My tips, tips are usually cash, and since cash is going away for rideshare anyway, I mean it's always been kind of the real tippers are going to tip you cash.
Yeah,
the people who go out to bars and things like that, they're going to tip you cash. Very rarely do you see, and if you do get a tip through the app, it's usually like 13% or some like breakdown that's so sad. It's like, dude, really?
Has anybody actually taken a ride to see what the supplement, what it looks like on the rider side?
No. You mean on the breakdown sheet? I bet you it's just another line item.
Is there something in the app that says, hey, just an FYI, there's an extra 45 cents or whatever?
I'm sure they alert you beforehand. I doubt they're just putting it into the. In fact, I bet you that's part of their PR is when you open it to get one, they're saying, hey, due to the state of the world, you got to pay an extra 55 cents. No,
I'm looking at the Uber app now. There's nothing in there.
There's nothing in there. I was just looking too.
I wonder if you got the car and you took your ride, if after the fact it would say that if it would have another line item on the receipt that said gas. I mean,
I guess I would be more impressed if they just left it completely quiet to the passenger.
Because exactly here, like if no matter what, they didn't show it to you, Gary, when you just pulled it up, and they're going to charge it, and they're getting good press out of it. This is the kind of stuff that seems beyond unfair. I mean, like this is their hand. This is how they want it played.
Yeah.
But I want to challenge the idea about them not doing anything at all. I don't know if that would work out well. I think they had to do something. Well, especially with Gary saying about Grubhub did something very early on, and the companies had to kind of react to that. I'm wondering did they notice a dip at all? But I think it was too soon, or maybe they were looking at it. Maybe they seen how the gas prices are going up, and there were less people doing rideshare, food delivery. Was this a reaction to that, or a reaction to Grubhub doing something, and then other companies now have to respond, appropriately? Not appropriately respond. I mean, I guess some people think the Uber assistance is better than DoorDash. I mean, it's all interpretation, but I'm wondering if they noticed a dip. Do you guys think that they knew that people were not using the apps as often because of the gas, and then they had to do something, or it was just Grubhub did something and they had to react to it?
I think Grubhub did something. They had to react to it. That's what I think. I don't think that they've seen a dip in drivers. Mm-hmm. I mean, even now, people are like, oh, I'm not going to drive, like food delivery. I'm not going to go do food delivery, but I still see just as many dashers out as I normally would.
Mm-hmm. I don't think though that Uber and Lyft watch too much about Grubhub.
Right. I was just going to say, I think Uber got on the bandwagon first because obviously Uber Eats does compete with Grubhub. Lyft doesn't have anything at all other than a crappy rideshare service. That's it.
Well, by react, I don't mean that they're intimidated by Grubhub doing it. I think it's more of a PR thing. Like, hey, they did it. We have to do it. It's not
and they did it at a time before gas goes even higher. Right. So now if they had to do it in 3 weeks, would they have to do it for more? Because I'm sure they stayed on the lowest end of after analysis and checked it out and said, hey, we'll do this. It wasn't like what's the most we can do for these drivers?
No,
It was the other way around in that meeting. What is the least we can get away with and get some good PR out of this? And it won't even help the drivers, but what can we do here that just kind of masks it and makes it look like we are?
100% agree.
And DoorDash was the last one to jump on board, actually.
Yeah, they're dragging their feet.
Of all
You
of
know
them.
they didn't want to do it. You know DoorDash did not want to do it.
Oh yeah,
You know,
and did you even look? Like they actually offered it to the people. Like I didn't read the whole email because I knew it was BS. But it said something about you had to have the Dasher Direct card.
Yeah.
Like you know that you get the most cash back if you use their banking card.
Right.
You know, I mean, how bad would it have been? And would any customers have cared if it said, when you opened the app, if it said, you know, after you called for a car or after you made your order and whatever, it said, hey guys, you know, like make sure to tip your drivers or your you know, tip the service. You know, they're paying hard at the pump right now. Something along those lines. I would I'd 1,000 times rather have that than 55 cents.
I agree, but I also think that they would not do that because it makes them sound like they're not taking care of their own drivers and they're relying on you, the customer, to pay the fees as well as the driver. So it makes them look bad. So I understand why they wouldn't do that. That is absolutely the route they should have taken.
I mean, they wouldn't do that anyway. They just wouldn't have. They avoid the word tip. None of them want to use that word because they started off without tips, and they don't ever want to have to go back to that and admit that, hey, these guys are service industry people that haven't been tipped, so they've been paid incorrectly for years. So, because those of us that have been in the service industry, you know, like one out of if I'm bartending, that probably doesn't even count because everybody tips. If I'm waiting tables, maybe 1 out of 20 tables doesn't tip. If I do rideshare, 1 out of 20 tips.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's so backwards, the thinking there, you know, like it's the same type of thing. It's customer service, it's service industry. There is no tip.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. My take was, I don't like it. I instantly knew this is just a play for them. This is not to help drivers. This is not to do anything. And the veteran people I know would prefer no supplement too.
Yeah.
Because they know that will get a lot of the other newbies and you know, people taking these $2 dashes or whatever out of the way for those of us who know how to take orders.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I've seen a lot of want, you know, like to hear you guys' response. There've been a lot of people who just are saying they need to do more. They need to do more. They need to do something more. And I'm assuming those, I don't know. I think a lot of people just still have the idea of I'm working for a company and they're not taking care of me. They don't care. Like a lot is, you know, going back to Rideshare Professor, his speech, you know, the narrative that he presents is they don't care, but they should care more by providing you with whatever. So I've seen a lot of that on all the platforms, especially DoorDash. Like that's not enough. They should do more. And you know, we're back and forth between like, okay, do you want to be a W-2 employee or do you want to be independent contractor? It's like, it's a, you know, that life of independent contracting is a little bit more colder, but you have more freedom to really do your own thing. And you don't want to deal with people who want to be employees. That's why the whole strike thing will never work. There's too many of us with different types of, I guess, philosophies on what independent contracting is all about.
Yeah, I fully agree with you there because I think, I mean, for me, that is part of being your own business. It is cold. You are on your own. There are going to be harder times than having a W-2. Even though things can happen in a W-2, there's many more things that can happen running your own game.
Yeah.
And there's many other ways to quickly have an issue or whatever. No backup, nothing going on. So you got to be every day on it. I mean, this is not for the fair-hearted or the weak. So,
well, I mean, but you also have to look at some of the vehicles that these people drive. You know, Jason, he has a Prius. It probably gets 65 miles to the gallon, or so charge good. Or whatever. You know, you know. But I see people in SUVs, you know, pickup trucks. I mean, just things that are not really meant for the gig economy. because I mean, unless you're doing something like Roadie or Curry, and you're getting these higher payouts, if you're doing food delivery, if you're not getting 35, 40 miles to the gallon, you are in the wrong vehicle.
Yeah. I take my wife's Ford Fiesta. I've been doing that for the last 2 years. But yeah, I as soon as the gas prices skyrocketed, all the Prius owners, all the Tesla owners flexing nuts, like, hey, look at me. I'm like, well, I didn't know that this is going to happen. And the prices for pre-owned Priuses was shooting up. I was just
Terribly.
looking at it, it was expensive. I was like, damn, too late.
Yeah, it was crazy. I had this lady that I was helping here in Arizona, and I actually gave her a ride to San Diego to buy one because everything here in Phoenix, where I'm at right now, was like $18,000 for something that had 120,000 miles on it. It was just insane. She finally found one for like 9-10 grand over in San Diego, so I gave her a ride over there. But it was insane. Yeah, I actually bought the Prius about 2.5 years ago, specifically for rideshare. That's the only thing I do with that car. I have other cars that I drive normal, and I put 130,000 miles on it in just over 2 years, and I would not have a different vehicle for rideshare or food delivery. I just did a big Instacart order this morning, and I'm not kidding you, I had eight cases of water. I mean, it was packed full, but you lay those seats down, it's like a truck. It's crazy. But yeah, I do see it all the time. I see people driving a Ford F-250, with a Lyft and Uber sticker in the window, and I'm like, you can't. Like, it doesn't work. You will lose money.
Or at least not for a full-time driver. If you're part-time, couple hours, it probably ain't hurt you. But
yeah, I actually tell people that. I say, hey, listen, if your whole reason is to go spend a couple hours in an evening to make your payments on that vehicle, and that is what you're doing, then sure, yeah, that's fine. Like I do the same thing with a different car on Turo, and it's the same thing. But for 100% rideshare or food delivery, 100% of the time, yeah, you got to be smart.
Mm-hmm.
That's not smart.
No, and Hannibal, I got to go back to the one thing though that again, people want more, but people always want more.
Yeah.
I mean, and I don't just mean that in our industry. I mean, like other industries I've been in and industries I haven't been in. There's nobody that, unless you're at the top of the chain and you're the CEO, you're the owner, you're the person. If you're an employee, you always want more.
Mm-hmm.
There's always a boss you don't like or a manager you don't like. There's nobody that's like, I make enough money, I don't want any more.
True.
There's not such a thing. Even if it's to give it to charity. So people might not have the total mind of it's for me, but I mean, there's nobody out there who's like, if I don't really need that raise, give it to somebody else.
Yeah.
Doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So everybody always wants to be paid more. So I don't know. To me, it's another obstacle right now that if they hadn't given this incentive, a lot of people would be dropping off the platforms. I honestly believe that. And I think that would be a better way to better payment for us than trying to give 55-cent gas incentives. But that's just my 2 cents. So, all right. So, okay, I'll throw this one to you. Well, no, because I got the last one for. Yeah, okay. So Hannibal on so price of gas, inflation on everything, and other rising cost of living. I think I said this to you a few weeks back in a text that people are needing to now squirrel away some money. So 2-part question. Do you think that these are going to make delivery volume go down? And if it does that weed out some of the delivery people to make it so that the right amount are working and earning better again like they were?
I don't know. There's so many variables that are happening. Like, obviously it depends on the market, but there's so much uncertainty with what's going on in the geopolitical landscape. Like China's apparently now, I don't want to talk too much about it because we don't Mr. Flex type situation, but okay, China's doing something because of the Rona, right?
Mhm.
And they're shutting down factories and warehouses, and that's going to affect certain things. How long that's going to happen, and obviously what's happening with Ukraine, and it's so much going on right now. Like people are worried, people are saving up. It would make sense if you're fiscally responsible, yet you're not spending as much money as you were before, right? So you would think that things should start to die down with the food delivery apps, and I think people are looking for some level of stability. So going back to a W-2, like I said, the gas prices are crazy. So you may the part timers, the ones who are not really into being independent, will go back, and then you hope that the real G's like us, able to still have a decent income doing gig work. But it's just so many things happening at one time right now, and it's hard to kind of figure out what's the end point, what's going on, because it's crazy times right now.
Yeah, I mean, the other part of that is that it's not going down anytime soon either.
No.
This cost of living thing and inflation is just going zooming right now. I mean, gas is going to go higher. I mean, yes, I was pointed out by a couple people today, a couple drivers I was talking to about the other issue, the virtual strike. They were pointing out to me, hey, gas dropped to 10 cents in my market. I'm like, it'll go back up. It's going to dip. It's going to dip a dime here or there, but then it'll go up a buck. I mean, we're not done with it going up. We're not done with inflation. We're not done with supply chain shortages. We're not done with imports, everything. So I again, it goes back to that 55 cents, but I don't know. Don't you think that part of that was also like, do you think that by squirreling away money, I mean, people that have become pretty comfortable, even in the pandemic living, who have been using these apps and not as the driver's standpoint, but the customer ordering food.
Mm.
Do you think that volume will die down?
I don't think so. I think it's still a very important service for people to order food, order groceries. I guess we'll have to really hit a recession. Things have to go really crazy before I think we'll be like a drastic drop in orders. We still have a lot of drivers. John, he's in the LA area, so a lot of drivers here. Like a turn the app right now, I can order food right now. It won't take that long. So things are people are still going to order things. And I think that's just still going to happen unless something really crazy happens. Jason, what do you think? Do you think people are going to order less? Like I always say no. In my opinion.
I think it'll just adjust. I have noticed in the last couple months an increase in apartment deliveries versus $1 million home deliveries. Okay. So I think that that's going to continue to adjust. And I think the people that are in lower income and are using these services are going to continue using the service indefinitely. And that's not ever going to really change. I think that the people who are in the nicer homes, maybe have other bigger financial responsibilities, they may pull back a little bit and say, hey, you know what, we're going to ration our food. We're going to go to Costco instead of paying somebody to go to Costco for us, and we're going to be smart. But I think that I've noticed over the last couple months, I've noticed more, or I should say less, of the big homes and stuff, and more towards the apartments and stuff like that, a little bit lower end.
Gary, what do you think?
I think people are going to stop tipping. I mean, that's what it is. I don't think people are going to use the services very much less. I mean, I think it's going to be like Jason said. Everybody during the pandemic pretty much used it, but now that things are pretty much open everywhere, people that would not normally go out, the higher end living, they're just going to go and get their own stuff. There's a reason why they keep their money, and it's because they don't like to share their money. And so, but I mean, I probably decline, I don't know, 100 plus orders a day just because they're low payouts. You know, and I know people are declining 300 plus a day in busier places like New York City and LA and things like that. So I don't think there's less orders. I just think there's less tips.
Yeah. Well, I was laughing as you said that because we're always talking about how the tips are already low, but
Yeah. I mean, we've seen on Rideshare, when Rideshare first came out, we all did Rideshare because we had a decent pay per mile and we was getting a lot of tips.
right.
Now, I
But
don't
you
know
couldn't
any
tip. You
rideshare.
couldn't even tip in the app.
Right, but you would get a lot of cash tips.
Yeah.
You know, but now, even though they can tip in the app, I very like that whole, oh, we'll tip you in the app. Yeah, that's like, I know they're not going to. You know,
Yeah.
and so and the only difference between rideshare and food delivery is we expect that tip up front compared to after the ride. And so I think as more people get using the service long term, because I notice now whenever I get a tip, it is typically somebody from an airport or somebody that doesn't use the service very often. You know, compared to if I'm taking somebody to work every single day of the week, they're not ever going to tip me because they use the service so much.
Right. Although those should be the people that are tipping you daily,
Right.
even if it's a
Right.
even if it's a minimal tip or whatever they can do, they should still be on one. Those people of all people. So, I don't know. Let me roll through these comments before I hit this next point because I haven't even looked yet.
Yeah. I'm trying to look at an article because I know a year ago or 2 years ago, a lot of people were able to save because either they were working remotely, they weren't spending as much money, but I'm wondering if the savings are starting to dry up with many people, where certain things, like I said, they may have to scale back on spending money, tipping, that type of thing. But I can't find anything right now.
Well, I did read that a lot of the companies that were remote are almost all going back to non-remote positions.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even though studies shows that more work got done remotely, they're all wanting people in the office, I guess, to look them over or watch them.
I gotta say this. I gotta be honest here. This shocks me, Faith, that everyone on the Uber subreddit, when they took a poll, to 90% of the people said they were not going to strike. That shocks me, and I by that mean that it's not 99%. Because 0.0001% actually do strike. So how are 90? I think 10% are just doing it to try and feel like good people. I mean, or like that's the better thing to do for the community.
Or they were just going to go party today anyways.
Yeah, it has, right, exactly. It has nothing to do. I don't think that 10% of the people are like, strike. I'm going to be outside with a sign.
Yeah, see, like John said in the comments, he said a lot of people are just going to go back to dining in too. Now
that's kind of what I was thinking too. Like maybe not groceries as much at first, like Shipped and Instacart, which, by the way, Jason was the one who when I was taking the Instacart Ship challenge, I was in touch with Jason and I was like, dude, I can't get anything on Instacart. And he was like, yeah, they kind of suck right now. And I knew you had done them before, but then like 2 weeks later, man, you were sending, those were the Hannibal. Remember those screenshots I was putting up of like the killer earnings? Those were his.
Oh, good
like,
market.
dude, you were making like 380 in like 6 hours on Instacart. I couldn't make $3.80 in 60 hours on Instacart.
Rodney says California is getting a $400 gas check.
Is that real?
You got to play the game with them for sure.
But how did the game switch that much from the time I was asking you for advice to where you're like, I don't know, man, I'm barely, it was great, it's killing me, and then it flipped.
Yeah. So Instacart here about the end of January, part of February, made some real change to their algorithm and the way affecting people like hideous crazy. I've been very, very frustrated with them, but if you play the game right, you can still do it. I was just looking at my thing here, like there's This one, I don't know if you guys can read that, but this one was from yesterday. It's a single order. It took about 45 minutes or so, and I made $65. You know, so they're still there. You just have to play the game. The biggest change that has happened in the last couple months for me is I am multi-apping way more. I'll be doing DoorDash while I have Instacart running in the background. Get a big order pops up, I'll accept it. I still have 30 minutes to 45 minutes to go start that order. So I'll go finish my DoorDashes and whatever, and then I'll go and flip, you know. So you just got to play the game. Instacart is not the same. You can't go out as a veteran driver. And those of you who know what I'm talking about. As a veteran driver, you can't go out and make $300, $400 in a day unless you're working 16 hours. So you adjust, and that's what I've been doing. You know, I'll be doing Lyft or Uber when it's super busy and high surge, and then I'll switch over to, you know, food delivery. And then I'll switch over to Instacart and I'll pick up a shipped order. And so.
Yeah. I mean, I have always done that, but I think that, I mean, whatever happened for you was big. Was that anything to do with, were you going from Boise to Arizona?
No, I'm in contact with people all over.
No, I mean, when you were doing those first Instacart shops that weren't so good, were you in Boise and then you went to Arizona and they got good? Okay.
I was in Boise up till the end of January, and I had been there since July. I went to Hawaii for a little bit, but then basically July to February I was in Boise. Okay. And then switched. I'm in Arizona now, and I'll be heading back to Florida here in July. But but yeah, no, it is what it is with them. They're playing games is what they're doing. It's pretty frustrating.
See, this is what I was kind of going at, though. The same thing as he's saying here is that, you know, I agree with this as far as like restaurants. I know that they're all getting their toehold into the grocery space, but the restaurant part of it, I don't know about the dining in so much anymore. Even for me, I'm mentioning this because this has happened in my life. Like, I've now tailored back what my son and I can do. You know, I mean, you know, I make sure that, you know, we are able to pay our bills and have food and stuff and be able to do some fun things here and there. But I've had to tighten the straps a lot. You know, and you know, especially because who knows what's next. I mean,
exactly.
You know, I mean, like, I don't know. I'm already concerned about a lot of things, and a lot of them we won't get into here, but I'm sure that on everybody's minds, and they're all probably different concerns. We all have concerns right now. Financially, I think a lot of us are on the same page, especially if you're in the gig economy, because a lot of us are sitting in the same place. You know, we don't, you know, we all bust our tail to make money, and some of us make more money than others. Some of us live in different markets. But I mean, like, we've even broke down that cost of living thing. You know, if I'm raging it here in Denver and somebody's like, there's no way you can make that, and they live in Lincoln, Nebraska, well, you also pay, if you rent, let's say you rent a house, you also pay $500 for a 2-bedroom house. That would be $2,300 in Denver.
Right.
So, I mean, that cost of living isn't even small. It gets huge. So, yeah, I'm just looking through.
Or you can get $400 in California for a gas check.
Yeah, I was just looking at that too. What?
I read an article.
Yeah, I posted a link in the comments to the LA Times that wrote an article about it.
Yeah, some lawmakers want to send a gas rebate.
Yeah,
to everybody, or is this
I
for
guess.
people who? I mean, what if do you have to even own a car, or is this just a California thing?
That'd be hilarious. That'd be hilarious.
Here's your $400 gas check. Cool, man. I don't even have a car. Sweet. Because I got to say, it sounds funny, but it's not funny when it comes to California, because they do stuff like
they said that it will cost $9 billion to do this.
I love how that number just rolled off Hannibal's
Dude,
tongue like it's some small.
There's so many billions and trillions coming out. Yeah, 9 billion. There's 9 billion.
That's nothing.
That's nothing.
Especially for
as high a taxes as they pay already, they deserve the $400.
Maybe it is. Maybe it's like, hey, quit leaving the state, guys, because they're all leaving.
Yeah, that could be it too.
So yeah, so I'm glad that you got to catch Hannibal's video, because I'd liked Hannibal's video from Tuesday, but I wanted to pick up on a specific portion of it that was and this is kind of the last thing I got for the night, and then we'll see if anything's in the questions, but is the customer communication stuff. My takeaway from your video was pretty crazy, because I think Jason's kind of, I know from the times we've talked, you're kind of the same way as me, maybe even overbearingly attentive to customers every order. You know, it's like, I even have the best of rideshare and delivery people who I know kill it, who are like, you don't need to do all that. I'm telling you, man, it's just me. I text all my customers. I mean, I am so in contact, because I believe it leads to good rankings, even better tips. But I also simply believe that it leaves a better customer service experience taste in your mouth. And by that, I mean, like, if you go to a restaurant a few times and every time the server just sucks, the food's okay, it's close to your house, you're not going to go there anymore. But if the food's okay and the service is through the roof, you're still going to go there. You know, it's like, I know that gig workers are always thinking in the here and now. What is my tip for this order? You know, well, do the most you can. Be in touch with these people. Have really good connection with them. You know, text with everybody. I mean, don't wait till it's a problem. Don't wait till something's out. Don't be rude. Don't take your day out on them. But, you know, like, communicate. Hey, I've got this order. You know, I didn't even do it as much as Jason does before I had gotten with Jason about it. And then I've been doing it on Shipped. It's been helping me tremendously with tips. Especially I can say for sure with the Shipped customers, they love it. They love the response. I see like maybe a third of my orders go up in tip.
It's interesting that you mentioned this, because I have one of my more popular YouTube videos is about Uber Eats. And I get more comments from people on that video because I used the phrase, I did not tip the driver when I used Uber Eats. And the whole idea behind it is you got to give your driver, you got to give the person a reason to want to tip you. And in that case, in that delivery, the driver walked up, literally threw the food at me and walked away. No personality, nothing, no, hey, have a great day, anything. And it just left a bad taste in my mouth. But here's the key. It left a bad taste in my mouth for ordering Uber Eats. So if everybody was more energetic and you know, writing notes or writing through text or whatever, leaving a little card on your you know, the food, whatever, just saying, have a great rest of your night, then that leaves a good taste in their mouth, and they're going to want to continue ordering from Uber Eats or from DoorDash or Grubhub or whatever. And then that increases the volume and then makes everything. As drivers, we can do better for sure.
Yeah. I mean, clearly a lot of people, and I don't put this blame on them, have not worked in the service industry who come into this, because I mean, like, you couldn't just have your crappy attitude and, you know, just be, you know, you got to be 100% all the time when you're in person. And I think that people don't treat it like that.
There's actually a really good comment from John that says DoorDash drivers put less effort in because it's pre-tip, right? And that is absolutely true. I put so much effort into my Uber Eats orders in the past because I knew that customer was going to tip based on the service that I gave them. People who are used to this pre-tipping thing, they don't care. Do you know how hard it is to remove a tip from DoorDash? it's like nearly impossible. You have to call them and they have to go through this whole thing. It's not just a simple, like, don't tip at the end. So people are like, hey, why do I need to give good customer service? I'm getting that tip. I'm accepting that. I'm going to either get the amount that I was promised or more. It's never going to be less. So they don't give good customer service. And that is actually a bad thing.
Interesting.
Well, also on DoorDash, whenever a customer removes the tip, that didn't come back from the driver. The driver still gets the tip. Unlike on Uber Eats, when they remove the tip, it actually comes back from the driver. You know.
Yeah.
Now, I also believe that there is doing too much as well.
I agree.
You know,
for sure.
like I order, and like whenever the driver gets to the restaurant, these apps, they tell me the driver's at the restaurant, driver's leaving the restaurant, driver's 2 minutes away, you know, driver has dropped off.
Yeah.
And then I also have drivers that send me a message on every little thing they're doing as well. And so I'm like, okay, check my phone. Okay, check my phone. It's like I'm constantly checking my phone for useless notifications, you know, and that drives me crazy.
Yeah.
There is definitely a medium in what you're doing. You can't overdo it, but I do believe just common courtesy things, you know, saying simple things like, you know, have a great rest of your night, stuff like that makes a big difference in the mind of people, for sure.
Right. See, I'm probably one of those drivers, you will never hear from me unless something is wrong, because I know the app alerts you. But whenever I do, like if it's a no contact and I leave it at your door, in the comments of the pictures, you know, I put, thanks for ordering, have a great meal.
Absolutely.
You know, doesn't mean you have to directly be in contact with them. Just small things like that. They're like, oh, that's nice. You know, especially on Uber Eats, like you said, you get more tips added on, you know?
Yeah.
I mean,
correct.
here's one of our own saying, you know, hate when drivers constantly text. Here's what I have to say to that is that what are they texting? Because what I'm talking about is just good communication. I mean, are they just are they being morons? Are they annoying you?
Well,
What we're
talking about there is like whenever I don't know how much you use the apps, but whenever DoorDash, for example, or Uber Eats, you get to the restaurant as a driver and you mark arrive, Uber Eats tells you, hey, your driver's at the restaurant. Whenever you go leave the restaurant, Uber also says your driver has left the restaurant, ETA 7 minutes. But there's some drivers, they'll get to the restaurant, they're like, hey, I'm at the restaurant, wait time's 5 minutes. Okay, I'm leaving, I'll be at your house in 10 minutes. Okay, I'm pulling up now. Well, the app tells us all this stuff as well, so you're actually getting double text for no reason.
Absolutely.
You know,
You're 100% right. Never do that.
Yeah.
However, when you arrive at the restaurant and the person says, hey, it's going to be like 10 or 15 minutes, right? I'll wait like 5 or 6 and then I'll text the person and let them know, hey, I apologize for the delay. When I arrived, the food was not ready. I'll get it to you ASAP. And I don't text them again until I need to communicate again with them for whatever reason. Yeah, I do. Right. But yeah, I definitely don't overdo it because that is annoying for sure.
Right. And that would be an issue. That's what I consider an issue. If they tell me 10 or 15 minutes and I wait 5 and it's still not out, that is an issue that the customer needs to be aware of. You know, not you're getting there, picking up 2 minutes later, texting this whole time, you know.
Right. Yeah.
I'm assuming the driver doesn't know the customer side of the app. They must not be aware of that. The notifications are coming in. Don't worry about it. You're good to go. Unless, like I said, unless something happens where you have to articulate and explain it. But I definitely agree with Steve earlier. You know, unfortunately, it's not W-2. They can't require previous job experience that work with the service industry. When you work in the service industry and hospitality industry, a lot of this it's something you just learn to do because you realize when you do the right thing, you get the right results. You get either, you know, good tip. You just have a better experience working when you communicate appropriately. You don't have an anger because, you know, back to the video that I made, the person that was speaking, I appreciate he wrote a lot that he didn't have a lot of good interactions with customers. And that's why I said, like, if I was in a market and I was getting like the worst possible interactions with customers or restaurants or what have you, I would stop it because I'm like, well, this is not working out for me. But so I wouldn't have such a negative, I guess, view on a customer. So because he seemed like he had issues with calling a customer. Like I barely had any issue. Maybe 1 or 2 out of 1,000, 2,000 deliveries I've done. I didn't have this many negative interactions. But also I've been in service industry. I've hospitality industry, taking care of dogs, talking to clients. You go through all that where you are comfortable with either customer being rude. It happens, not in the world. But I think when you don't take pride in what you're doing, regardless if it's picking up food, you have no pride in what you're doing, how your performance, how you handle yourself. You have these situations where someone's throwing food at you. Someone's not communicating, someone's being rude. And it's too many of those drivers out there on the road today. Because I say you could talk to your friends, your family, ask them about the last DoorDash experience they had. It may be a negative one because there's just so many of us drivers out there not doing the right thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Jason and I have discussed this before, but I mean, I think that's very apparent in rideshare, especially in my market. Again, this could be a market to market thing, guys. I have seen it in other cities I've traveled to as well, though. But here in Denver, big time. Like I can order an Uber X if I want to go out for the night, and it is a crapshoot on what I'm getting. I could be getting a immaculately clean car that I will keep immaculately clean and appreciate the fact that the person did that. I always tip. I'm going to tip a little better for that, in fact. Or I could get a car that smells where I'm standing on bags of food and their laundry's in the back.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
even as a gig driver, I would say that my tip does depend on how clean your car is. Mm-hmm. Like I'm not tipping you just because you're a rideshare driver. I do believe in tipping something, but if I have to get in a dirty, smoky car, I'm not going to be happy about it.
Right.
You got to put the effort in for sure. There's no doubt.
And I think that goes to even what Hannibal just said too, even like just the pride in your job. So yeah, on the delivery cars, they're not seeing what the inside of your car looks like, but like look around your car before you start delivery tomorrow. Is that the car you'd want delivering you food? That's people put out challenges. There's my challenge. Go look at your car tomorrow.
I wouldn't even say your car, Steve, for food delivery. I would say look in a mirror.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point too. Like, are you showering every day? Are you putting on clean clothes? And I don't mean like a collared shirt or anything specific. I just mean are your clothes clean? Have you been wearing them for 16 days doing rideshare? Are they clean? Are you just getting out of bed and just going in your pajamas? I mean, because again, these are all things that lead to not pride in work. You don't have to love what you do, but pride in your work will pay off in tips, will pay off in attitude, even the way the restaurants deal with you. If somebody comes in reeking like a cigarette that's been standing out front of a place and there's a bunch of orders and they're dealing with them, and I walk in there with my collared shirt on, I'm showered, I'm clean, smell nice, and I go up and I ask for the order, they're going to deal with me a lot quicker than that guy that comes in that's been smoking.
Yeah, I did a Instacart video, and that's one of the things I put in there was don't look like you just pulled out, come out of a car, underneath a car, just woke up. Like, do your hair a little bit, to make yourself look presentable, because you are the face of your business. If you're going to be in business for yourself, you are the face of your own business. I was just in Costco doing an Instacart order the other day, and I literally saw a guy in a onesie pajama, and he was freaking doing an Instacart order. And I was just like, are you serious? Like, nobody will take any of us seriously with that coming up to your house. It's insane.
So he was shopping in that then too, unless it was just to deliver, but he's also in there like...
Seriously, I took a picture of him. I'll text it to you.
I mean, it's different. It's different if you want to try and like take a different angle, and like be Green Man or something.
Right.
It's like head to toe, you're just Green Man, like so that they can take you out of photos and stuff.
Right.
That'll be interesting.
There's a little humor in that or something, and around dressing up your car or doing things around Halloween or whatever. That's a little different. But the uncleanliness factor, I mean, whenever I've rode in an Uber, and this is sadly the truth, unless they did something beyond offending me, I have rode in Ubers where, in all honesty, I would have given a 1 star, but I always give 5 for karma's sake, just because I've had ones given to me that I know I didn't deserve.
Yeah.
So I always give a 5, even if they give a 1 performance, I give them a 5, unless they, I mean, maybe a few times, twice maybe in my life, I've given worse than a 5.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's been 100 times less than a 5 was deserved.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, a majority of the times I wanted to rate down, I realized they're a brand new driver and they just don't know. And usually, honestly, I'll give them a little bit of advice. You know, I had one where I just had dog hair all over me, and I told her, I said, hey, you know, you might want to just like clean the dog hair out back here. I was heading to an interview, and I'm like, I gotta change my shirt now, you know.
Wow.
So,
Yeah,
but
I was going to ask you guys that if you actually gave advice to these people instead of just getting, because like whenever I ride in one, if their car is dirty or something, I will say something to them. You know, I'm not going to rate them bad because unless they, you know, physically do something, I won't do that. But I will say something to them.
yeah,
no problem
I'll just simply say, hey, I'm not going to mess with your ratings or anything, but future people may not like this. Just an FYI, something like that.
Yeah. That's a good way, like, to disarm them by saying, I'm not going to mess with the ratings.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you some constructive criticism here.
Yep.
Your car smells like trash. You know what I mean? It's like you can.
Right.
And if you don't have the if you just can't do it, but you really need to say it, write it down. Give them 5 stars a tip, but also as you get out, hand them a piece of paper. Like, say, dude, read that when I leave, man. I gave you 5 stars.
You can still message them in the app until the ride's over, so you can actually have it pre-planned, and then before you get out, go bing, send it to them.
Yeah.
I also never tell them I'm a rideshare driver.
Right.
I don't bring that up.
Right. Or dogs.
Oh, I don't ever tell them I'm a rideshare driver either, because I've noticed that the times that I do that, they get way too comfortable with me right off the bat. Yeah. You know.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say too, like here, yes, I would. However, I don't know if anybody else faces situations like these. Like I think I've told you guys before, we've had people living out of the DIA staging lot before, and it's very big. So a lot of times, like if I've been doing laser work or production work and I'm coming back to Denver and I need a ride home, I'm getting somebody from that lot. That's where, I mean, it's literally a coin flip. I can get a clean car or a dirty car because I don't know what's coming out of that, out of that 24/7 living lot. I mean, because it can be very disgusting. So there's sometimes, you know, somebody picks me up and their clothes are in the back, and I can tell it's not just somebody being lazy. They're working around the clock, but it's like the best they can do.
Mm-hmm. They're living.
Yeah, they're living in it. And it's like the best. They're like, welcome to my house. Please don't step on things. My hamster's out. So don't kill it.
They're like, can you fold my laundry while you're back there? I didn't have time.
Yeah, I just mean, like, I know some people are in other situations too, but there are some people that I straight up can call it out. You know, like, why is your car just, it's Friday night at 7 p.m. Why at the beginning of a night is your car just disgusting?
Like trashed out, Like, it's not even the dirt that gets me, really. Like, because I understand, you know, especially because if you drive like 15 hours a day, 7 p.m. your car is going to be dirty because you've been driving people all day. You got grass everywhere, whatever. It's the smoking in cars that really gets me. Yeah, I'm a non-smoker, so the moment I open the door, I can smell it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just like, oh, and I've had to open some and go, nope.
Yeah.
You know.
So I was going to say some are way worse than others, and you can just tell it's going to stick. Even if you don't have even if like you don't have cloth and you have leather seats, it doesn't matter. That stuff will stick around.
This is something too to actually be aware of, even for doing food delivery, Instacart or Shipt. I just had somebody that contacted me. They were deactivated because they had a complaint that their groceries smelled like smoke. And I told her, I said, listen, Alicia, I'm sorry that happened to you, but you do smoke. She's like, but my car doesn't smell like smoke. I said, do you smoke in your car? Well, yeah, and I said, okay, so obviously the customer didn't guess that you smoke. Their groceries smelled like smoke, and they reported you, and you got deactivated. So that is an important thing. If you do smoke, that you got to be careful with that for sure.
I think it's like probably a symptom of nose. What do you call it? Nose blindness. Like you're around that smell all the time. You don't notice it, but someone that comes in who's not familiar, like, yeah, it smells like smoke, where you don't think it smells like smoke because you're kind of around it. Eventually, that you process it. It's not a new smell to you anymore.
That's correct. Yeah.
They should just have smoking cars. Because there's enough drivers that smoke to actually do this.
Well, and and to your point too earlier, when a customer gets in your car and they are smelling heavily of smoke, now your car smells like smoke. And anytime I have that happen, I always tell the next customer, I apologize. The last passenger was a heavy smoker, and my car smells like that. I rolled the windows down in between or whatever, but it may linger. Just so that they know it's not me.
Yeah, what's that spray? Starts with the Ozium spray.
Ozium.
Yeah, that works really well if you're a rideshare driver.
It's the best and worst thing ever. It's the best because it takes that away, but man, you not breathe. Like, you got to get out of that car for a little bit. It's pretty intense.
It's like a vortex.
Well, what I do, I get out and I spray it, and I close the doors for a couple minutes, and then I open all the doors back up.
Right, but it's sad. It's sad you have to do that, because what does that tell you about? I mean, what do you even know it's that bad to have to get out of your car and go?
Seriously, the life of a driver. Yeah. And on that point too, as an effective rideshare driver, don't get overpowering air fresheners. A lot of people, you get used to that smell, and people get in your car and they're like, "Holy cow, it's intense in here." So I usually do. I get so many comments. I get the tropical colada, just the little vent ones. It's very minimal, and people just love it. It's just enough to make it smell a little bit, but not overpowering. So that's a huge thing as well.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. I want to thank Jason. I want to thank Hannibal, Gary, all of you guys for joining us. Next Thursday round, the next four, let me see if I can bang them out here real quick in my head. Next four are next week is Curry, the week after is UDM, the week after is Atlanta Delivers, and the week after that is Dumpling. So that's
this guy's a hard worker, isn't he? Isn't he? This guy all over the place.
He doesn't like to say this to everybody, but if you're watching this video, hit subscribe.
Yeah.
If you haven't already, hit subscribe. He works very hard, and he really needs the user count.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. I appreciate that, man.
Hit that subscribe button.
Yeah, I don't know. All you guys came in during a boom or something, and now I'm hearing at least the ones I do acquire are really loyal, good people that are fun to engage with.
They get it.
Yeah, I mean, I would rather be sitting, and I don't mean this for a long time, but at a lower subscriber count than a super high one and not getting many views and going, what am I doing weird here?
Building the foundation and building it right, not just jumping in with a whole pile of subscribers. And I've always been like quality over quantity. I've been super crazy busy the last year, just running all over the place, but I've got a bunch of videos I got ready to go. I just need to focus on it, but it's crazy. But
nice. Looking forward to it.
I know. I want to see your final project of your travel. I know we had talked about that. He's putting something together of all this traveling he did and delivery through the pandemic. So
yeah,
I don't know if you're doing it as like some kind of small movie even or something, or what you're doing.
But about like episodes, like dramatize all, get some episodes going.
Nice.
Like each episode's a city. That'd be cool.
Yeah, right.
Like episode.
There were times where I like. You remember when the whole like all of Texas was shut down due to the weather and all that, last year, and there was like gas and whatever. I took my motorhome directly to San Antonio when all that was going on, because I just wanted to see if it was true. And it was interesting. Let's just say that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, wasn't it Dallas?
San Antonio, Dallas,
Yeah.
and
But it was
Austin.
Dallas. The last time I was talking to Jason, we got to talk. Let's just say this real quick before we bust out here, because you were telling me that, remember during the blackout, right, in Texas,
Yeah.
Jason was there and he was in Dallas, and he said that like all the film crews and news were like outside of a closed grocery store, but right across the street was right across the street was
they had the whole line, all these people,
the
and
lights
everybody's
around it was shopping.
Hungry, need food, right? And you turn around and there's Walmart with no line. You walk right in and get what you want. I was just like, are you kidding me? It was great. I filmed it. It was stupid.
See, I want to see the Dallas episode already, where all the journalists are there going, "Can you believe our city's in a blackout?" And Jason's like, "No, you're not.
Yeah.
No, you're not.
Look over there."
Yeah, exactly. It was fun.
Well, thank you, Jason. Thank you, Hannibal. Thank you, Gary. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And we will see you back here next week on the roundtable.
Absolutely.